not doing anything?
No. All right, we're gonna have to keep going, Joe. You say a prayer, please. We've got partial done in here
I'm ready now.
now. Say the pledge. Call the meeting to order now. Good morning, all. Say the prayer. Robert, pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this wonderful day that you blessed us with. Just guide, guard, and direct us as we meet here to make decisions about our county and our ambulance service. Thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, all. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of April's meeting. Bill's made a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Abbott, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Chelsea, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us everything you know.
Alright, so we ended April with 196 runs. Our income for the month was $75,173.50. That is the lowest income that we've had so far for the year. Our run numbers have been down some, so. Vehicle mileage, I attached, that's what that second page is. It's just our current, that was as of yesterday, where we're sitting on mileage, so you guys can see that. Our April fuel cost was $3,427.86. I did a comparison for the last 3 months, and I put that on the sheet. So as far as just our day-to-day stuff, that's where we're at on numbers for that. So the next thing that I have on the agenda is hospital transfers with seals. I know that we have talked some about letting them know that we do not want them to re-sign a contract with seals. We have seen also that they are having a third party come in from Indianapolis to do transfers, which according to the ordinance would have to be our permission for that to happen, and to my knowledge that hasn't happened with you guys. So but the company was Let's from Indy. They've been coming down and taking transfers for them, so I wanted to make the board aware of that. Let's ambulance service.
It's a volunteer fire department, now a volunteer EMS.
Say let.
Let's, LETTS.
So are you sending them a letter or?
So there was a letter that I typed up to send to St. Vincent. This was just letting them know about the current contract, that we're not wanting them to re-sign a contract. I did give Kyra a copy of that if anyone needs to look over that. But I talked to Dustin as well. He said that if we send the first letter that we do not want them to re-sign the contract, and then give them a couple weeks, and then if the Let's thing is still happening, to then send them another letter that says that that needs to cease immediately.
How long has this been going on that you're aware of, this subcontracted company?
Well, I had seen an ambulance there before, but I didn't really know what that was. I didn't know if they were like bringing someone to St. Vincent or something. But then in talking to St. Vincent, they said that they were coming to take transfers out of the ER for seals.
420, our meeting when we source went where.
But I think it had been going on before that we were not aware of.
So they willingly volunteered that information to you, or
Possibility, yes. There was a hospital.
The CEOs are looking to be.
It was that.
so they didn't seem concerned about it being in violation of our,
I don't think they really understood it was in violation.
Yeah.
Whether it was willingly, didn't understand, or they just really didn't understand, I don't know.
So what I had kind of explained to them was that we had an ordinance in place that, that basically would, when we gave permission to seals, it was to seals only, it was not to a third party. And they said that in the past, they have not been told when Let's is coming, or seals would say, yes, we have a truck coming. And then they would be waiting for the truck to come, and then Let's would be the one that would get there. And they would advise them that they had been told by seals to come and pick up this transfer.
do you think these are long haul transfers, like back to Indy, or?
There's some, just went to, one of the employees works over there, used to work with us, I talked to him yesterday, he said some of them's been to Indy, not very many, a couple of CRAs, most of them is employees. Our regional area, we travel. And we stay pretty hard on keeping our own call up, doesn't happen all the time, but with last month's runs being run slow, we could have picked up probably several runs last month. Keep our own call, we try to make sure that we can't force people into doing the on call. Pretty good at keeping the on call up, we can usually get crew in, including me and her, we can always pick up somebody else to do a transfer if we have, which we've been through.
Who's your contact at St. Vincent?
Donna Cassidy is she's not the DON, she's like,
CEO.
Sorry.
CEO, and then, what's her name, the GM, and what's her name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth,
She's, manages the ER. If you guys are good with the letter, and signing that, then I'd like to get that out to, seals, to the hospital, and then keep a copy on record here.
There you go. I got one right here. What did our attorney, Dustin Howard, what did he have any comments about this, or?
He looked over the letter, he said it looked good, he was fine with it.
What about in the ordinance says we do have the authority to fine those violations up to $500 for each violation.
He said that it would be up to the board if you guys wanted to pursue that.
I'm sorry, I'm late. This is the letter that we talked about
Yes.
the other day on the telephone.
Tony was very aware of that whenever all this went down. I think most of you was in here then. That was not to be let anybody be a fine $500 per run, because he was trying to get in here, trying to sneak in. When he said he'd assist with 911, and we told him absolutely no. So they're aware of that fine.
Well, the way I understand things, we have no control over what Seals does. Anything, any grievance we have is gonna have to be for the hospital, because they're the ones that hired Seals. I mean, we can sit here all day long, we can't hold a gun to Seals' head and say, you know.
I would make a motion to go ahead and say this, I think it's going on enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been trying to be fair as we could with it.
Yeah.
And they know the situation, but right now, I feel like they're taking advantage of us.
Because right now, we're the ones getting the brunt of the complaints, because I hear all the time, how come you guys ain't getting over to get my family, or my mother, or my father, or my sister, or my mother out of here? We're having to wait 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours to get an ambulance. What's wrong with you guys? It's not us, it's them, it's Sewage.
I think there is a miscommunication as far as they see the ambulance in town and they see us not, like they see the ambulance in town. They know that a patient needs to go out of the hospital, so they think that we are just sitting around not taking a transfer. But they don't recognize within the community that there is a difference between the transfer part of the hospital and then us bringing in 911s. And I feel like that is a very big misconception in the community, is like, they see us out getting food and they're like, you're just getting lunch and you're not coming to pick up my family member, and it's not that at all. It's that they don't recognize that there is a separation between the transfers. That is not us. So that is kind of frustrating on our end, because I feel like people aren't seeing, or people have this idea about us not doing our job, but it really has nothing to do with us.
So in your conversations with the hospital, have you relayed that?
Oh yeah, they're very aware.
And what was their reaction?
They're ready for us to be back doing transfers. The issue is it's not St. Vincent Salem that makes that. To terminate the contract, St. Vincent Salem cannot make that decision, because Seals is in a contract with Salem and 2 other hospitals. So if they terminate the contract with Seals as a whole, that would have to come down from Indy. Now, if we send them this thing within our county that says that we are not allowing Seals to be operating, that's us making that decision, and then they would have to abide by that. But Justin said that since we don't know how much they have contracted them, we have about a year left. I think February of 23 is when it goes out. But he said the first thing he felt like was to send them a letter saying, don't renew a contract with Seals. And then if Let's is still coming in, we send them another letter. Hey, we've sent you the ordinance that says we have to give permission for everyone to be in here. We've only given permission to Seals. You are not to have any additional services coming in. And then kind of go that route on a paper trail.
And I think that's probably the way to approach it. For now, fire the plan, see if things change. Because I feel like we need to have a good working relationship with the hospital. We want to.
I feel like we do have a good relationship with Salem. I know that St. Vincent Indy, I think the way things have been in the past, they've kind of got an idea about, like, I think it kind of went a little sour when we stopped doing transfers, and Indy hasn't seen what we're doing, here now, like the improvements that we have made over the last time frame. So they still have the idea of what happened in the past kind of in their heads in Indy, because they don't see us, I feel like we have mended the relationship locally, but yeah.
I think locally, it's the best relationship we've had in a long time, I think, with the hospital. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding and my feel when talking with them.
Yeah.
Unofficial them, not official them.
Probably the best relationship we've had since they kicked us out in 2009.
All right, unless someone is in disagreement on the content of this letter, I'll entertain a motion to accept this and make sure it's sent to St. Vincent Salem and corporate office.
Bill made that motion, and I'll
Made
second
that motion?
I'll second the motion.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Bill made a motion. I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We're gonna start on the right side.
Did you have a discussion with the attorney
I did.
about what we have discussed about how is it that they can pay Seals, but they can't subsidize us, or they're calling it a conflict of interest?
I had kind of talked to him a little bit about that. I think that from the hospital standpoint, I feel like they are going to have more discussions about that from what I've talked to them, so.
Well, my opinion, there's no conflict of interest if there's only one hospital in the county. If there's multiple hospitals, I can see that being a possible conflict of interest.
It is a thing, because just right over here, they do seals, do 911s, bring them to that hospital and do their transfers out right next door to us, in Morris County, in Morris County. So, I think it's just a matter of management from them and their lawyers saying this, trying to shut the Washington County down.
I think that we can still have conversation about that. I don't feel like it's a set in stone thing, so I'm hoping to have those conversations in the future, so. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was, Jackson Township. They are trying to get a transport, BLS transport. We gave them an ambulance, and so that was, my understanding, that was supposed to be like a rehab unit, and it wasn't meant to be like an operating ambulance. So they have came to station. Usually how we have been doing with the fire departments is if they get on scene and put on a nasal cannula on a patient or a non-rebreather or something like that, then when we go to leave, we'll exchange with them. So we will give them a nasal cannula back or a non-rebreather back, because we'll use what the equipment was that they put on the patient, and so we'll give them that back. So he came to station asking for like suction and a non-visualized airway and a whole bunch of stuff that like we didn't use on a run, and I was like, what is this for? And he said it was for, they had an inspection for their ambulance. And I guess he had talked to Dr. Morgan about getting protocols for them to transport. And even going back to the ordinance that the hospital falls under, in there it says that even all voluntary transport services have to be cleared by us. But he believed that because he got Dr. Morgan's okay on that, that he did not need our permission. Honestly, I feel like it's a terrible idea. So.
Have you had any more communication with them since that day we?
No, I have
When
not.
I stopped that.
Other than them coming in and running all their brake pads and stuff like that in there. That's what they went to, he called, he said, you gonna get them? He said, I'm so big. So we get paid for them, you gotta pay for them back.
Chelsea, if you don't mind, you said he earlier, who are you referring to?
Nate.
Can't hear you.
Nate.
Nate Thompson. Okay. I'm just making notes here that. I think whenever we allowed Gibson Township, we kind of limited what they can do with that ambulance, did we not? Years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
It's transports. It's no different than this document, this contract. We're only allowing seals to do transfers. That same document includes that Jackson Township, right, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we started getting ambulances, like, we created a problem.
Our intentions were good.
Well,
The trouble is, I mean, we're putting trained personnel with insurance to do this. And granted, I mean, it's great for fire departments trying to do what they're doing. But then when it gets into life and death of doing it, we're not sure we're covering ourselves. And then when it comes down to the equipment and medical supplies that they're asking for, I'm afraid we're starting to get too deep, and I think we need to do further investigation of what we're allowed to do.
And to properly stock that truck, the cost of taxpayers probably at least, to properly stock it, well, I guess probably right around $35,000 to $40,000. To properly stock that to be a BLS transport.
Yeah, but personnel, we've got the trained personnel are doing a professional job. And I know, as said, on the fire department, most of it wasn't.
goes into the backside of transports that I'd say a lot of people don't understand is when we do a run report, we have there's I don't know, maybe 10 pages of documentation and drop down boxes and all that. And then every morning we go through and check, there's an audit and review that happens on every run that's done, whether treatment was done correctly, if there was something that happened on scene, if there was, for billing, we go through, before it ever even goes to billing, did the treatments that needed to be done happen? Is what's documented in there appropriate? And then it goes to billing. And I feel like if you start allowing these volunteer services or volunteer fire departments to start getting into transports, there's so much more that goes involved in the audit and review of runs that they do not have the resources for. And I think us being in our vehicles to kind of split and meet people where they need to go, plus the ambulances that we have, I feel like it's not necessary for them to be trying to do that. They have EMTs on their department, which is why they are wanting to pursue this transport vehicle. But then there comes, are we responsible for what they do? Or are they on their own for what they do? And I think the liability of having people that we don't work with and train all the time and all of that out doing these procedures, I feel like the liability is just not worth it. If we have say we have another service on for standby for us, and then they end up taking a run for us, their whatever they do on scene is falling back on them. It's not falling back on us.
What's Dr. Morgan's involvement in this? He basically signed off on them getting, what was it, meds or what?
I guess it was some sort of protocols that they had.
Protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's protocol, the medical director, the way it's always been before is having a transport service, the medical director and the director of the service has to sign off. I don't know how he got by without having her sign off on it. But it's always been, they have to sign off on the state. It's a protocol also, but also he is giving his medical license for them to practice medicine and to transport, and Dr. Morgan is completely liable. And it was also used to follow the director's shoulders that she would be liable. Now, how that was presented to Dr. Morgan, or he wouldn't even sign, has got a feeling he didn't know what he was actually signing, because it all falls back on Dr. Morgan and falls back on her, the way it's always used to be. It's always been that way.
So you talked to Mr. Thompson about this?
He asked for the medical supplies, and I'll be honest, between the amount that medical supplies has increased in cost, I'm not just gonna give him all this stuff that now if they, like I said, if they use a nasal cannula or something on scene, we exchange with them, because that's something that we would have to use when we get there anyways, and we exchange with them. But the stuff that he was asking for, they didn't use, and it was just to pass an inspection on their ambulance, because they have to be inspected by the state to operate with a transport truck. So I told him I was not giving him that, and that I did not agree with them having a transport truck. And he said he didn't need my permission. And so I said, well, I'm gonna bring it up in the board, because you guys ultimately, he does need my permission, but you guys are over that, all of us. So it's on you guys as well to decide.
Well, from the beginning, they were getting that ambulance just as first responders, correct?
Yeah.
Like Campbellsburg has their
Yeah.
first responders and so on.
That's all that's supposed to be.
I was looking at before, Rick, that's why we did that like we did with Gibson. Because that's what we did with Gibson.
Gibson isn't using that truck as a transport truck. So,
So, in my opinion, I just tell them, no, there's no transport.
Right. I don't think they're.
No.
Well, to make sure that we make the connection, we need to send out, not this letter, because this refers to St. Vincent's, but a copy of the county ordinance 2014-03 that spells this out. They're not allowed to do transfers. And I would send, I don't know if I want to send it to every volunteer fire department.
That's what I'm thinking, just to cover it, say, well, we send it to everybody.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
And it might not be a bad idea if the next, they have regular meetings, the township, fire chiefs, is that monthly or?
Most of them, they canceled last month. We've been trying to get it in to show all the fire departments our new fire loads so they don't tear them up. And we're just telling them, don't use them until, don't even attempt to get them out of the trucks until you've been trained. Some departments get hold of us and some of us not.
Okay, in addition to sending them a copy of our county ordinance, I think it'd be a good idea, when you find out when that meeting is attended, and, I don't really care if they like it or not, apparently they don't know the rules, so they need to be told that, well, it's a big liability issue for one thing, on our part.
Yeah, and on their part too. They probably don't realize.
Well, yeah.
It'll still come back there.
Oh, I know, ultimately.
So, I'll entertain a motion to send a copy of the county ordinance to all volunteer fire departments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts, second by Mr. Abbott. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
So if I write something up and I'll send it to Dustin to make sure that he is okay with how it's worded, and then I'll send to get some signatures.
Just gonna follow up Gibson, I know one you mentioned Gibson, yeah, they did start it up, but what's left there now, they're not interested in doing their ambulance, they're gonna take it back to their next certification, just for BLS, non-transport. So, they're.
That's the first township that kind of started
Yeah,
that,
and
and
that'll
we
be,
allowed them
just a
to.
few people that realize real quick, and Gibson's probably one of the departments that has, other than Kingsburg and Salem, that has the most people that, responders that show up.
Most
support, and they said, we don't have enough people to do this. And, they had a few people leave, when we had our man here, a few people left over there too, and, they ain't got the support for it, they don't have the staff, they said, we just can't do this. So, they're not interested in doing it anymore either. They're gonna use it like everybody was supposed to, when we donated some of these animals, it was for rehab units, as a first responder unit to get there, to be able to treat and help until we get there, which is usually more special with our chase vehicle, we get there sometimes ahead of the first responders. If not, just a few minutes right behind them, so. The first responders are great, we need them, but we don't need them to be transported. Also comes into patient care. They grab somebody up, they're gonna go into transport, they grab them up and take all of them before we get there. They need ALS care, we're only BLS. BLS is meant to do certain things, we need ALS getting there and taking care of patients.
The short conversation I had there a month or so ago with that Nate Thomas was, and they use this excuse all the time, well, if you can't get there, then we're gonna be there to aid and assist. We're gonna be there to save lives, and their mentality is, if I can't get a doctor, then I'll take a nurse that's right there, which could save a life, which is better than nothing. That's their mentality. But I think they have other motives. It's been no secret. The rumor mill the last 6 months that Jackson Township is wanting to get in the ambulance business. And so they can justify giving a couple guys full-time jobs.
Yep, that was the next thing. But, what he said to you is it's kind of funny, because Jackson Township had to say, for the most part, some of the worst first responder count we get, hardly ever get anybody from over that direction, on ambulance. We get one occasionally, not all the time. They're not the worst, but they're right up there, top 3. So, what he told you is pretty much.
You mean numbers?
Yeah, number-wise, as far as people showing up.
Well, they're healthier.
Runs.
They're healthy people over there.
We hardly get anybody. We get them sometimes, and like I said, they are first responders, they are donating their time, so, you know, I don't knock it, but if they wanna start playing games, it is what it is. There's also such a thing as we have a obligation to take care of our people, and they're not wanting to take care of our people, and you guys all know me, this is what I've always been about, taking care of our county people.
Well,
That's not taking care of them.
I don't want them to get the impression we're discouraging them from doing their job, because
Oh,
we wanna get along with them, because we need them.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I think there's a couple bad eggs that have some different ideas.
We appreciate every first responder, every department that we have in the county. It's just, there are some things that exceeds what we need them for, and that is one of them. I will get a letter together, I will get it to Justin, and then try to get signatures from you guys on that as well.
Okay.
The next thing I have, is just the sewage. We haven't had any issues since the last time it was pumped out. I've noticed in the drains a few times, it looks like there's toilet paper, but the drains are flushing right now, so I don't know if you got a quote yet from that guy or not, but.
Temple was there yesterday with, I'm guessing their roto-rooter system coming in from the backside, and they was there for a good 4 or 5 hours doing something. We was busy, I didn't get a chance to talk to them, see exactly what they was doing.
So, Mr. Marshall, since you've been on top of that, you've been communicating with them, do you think we need to go ahead and have the line replaced, or we need to just wait and see if it plugs up again, or?
They give us 2 options, and I asked for the third one, and I asked for 2 options. Paul was supposed to come out there, they're gonna open up down there by the road, take a ground shot. And the first option was coming out, going across by the fuel tank and going down. And going out to 45 and then use clean out there and go down to the road. But with the elevation from the sewer, it's higher there, so they gotta go all the way down in front of the building. It's not a good plan. Number 2 is to come out, make a 90-degree back, make another 90-degree, and go and make another 90-degree. That's not a good plan either. It's the last call, and right now, he's gonna come out and take a ground shot down at the front, and take a ground shot back. We'll have to cut the blacktop in front of the doors. And then, first estimate was figuring an 8-inch pipe, dropping it back to a 6, which will save us a couple $1,000. 6-inch recovery, as long as we got everything in a straight flow with fall. So he figured that, and it come back at 23.7. First one was 25.5. But that puts us back to a straight shot out. It'd probably be the least trouble as far as time, what's existing. Not only do the bathrooms come out, we've got 2 other ports there that come out too. So if we stay next to the building and cut the blacktop next to that, and then we're gonna have to work with them on coordinating with the doors up and down. That'll be the hassle. And when they come in, they should have everything ready to run on that.
If we had to break up in front of in the front part of the station across where the doors are, where we have that door in the back, we can just take the truck out, and then that way everyone can just come out that one door, so.
And that's probably the way we're gonna have to.
That,
For a time.
it will be not ideal, but it's fun.
Well, I mean, once they dig it open and get it down, and once they get the top floor off of it, yeah, we'll be working out the backside, south side. And then they'll get as fast as they can get back across and get that back where we can. It's gonna be rough. You know, it ain't no worse than these roads we got around there. So I would suggest we probably go ahead, it's gotta be fixed, and I would probably suggest forward bid, which is a straighter shot.
I agree with that. You know, a straighter shot is definitely better.
I mean, how long dealt with this?
Paul was going, what we've been dealing with, I think the building probably
proceed with repairing, replacing the sewer
Second.
drain line, second by Rondell. All those in favor say aye.
And that is the low bid at
Aye.
337 with the spreader one.
That's the lowest bid, okay.
The other two was 25 seconds.
Unanimous?
Aye.
Aye. Back to your runs, since we had a short month in April, did you not have quite as many calls from the hospital? Was that a big determining factor in this, or?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
In all the years since we took over, normally every year since we have, there is some weak months. I don't know why. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
And
And it's usually,
I think we put a lot of emphasis on these weak months. But if you look at from August, September, and in this case, January, February, March, been pretty good. And they've been running their tails off. So I think you're always gonna have weak months. And I done the same thing.
One thing with that lower run volume, the income coming into that run volume was also very good compared to what we had in the past. That almost met that $80,000 we shoot for every month, even without low runs.
yeah,
Which means our people's doing what they need to be doing, we're getting paperwork done, the building, we're getting it submitted, and it's all getting done the correct way, so. Our building was exceptional, our people was exceptional, doing what they needed to do so we could build it properly too, so.
That's what I was gonna ask, if there was any backlog in the.
No, we are current, on everything, like, the runs that go to billing, like today, they're gonna be billing, working on what we did yesterday, like, we are getting it to them very quickly, and then they are turning around and billing it. So we had a really good, like, last month, not last month, I guess it was March, we had $100,000 we brought in. Now, I know that was almost one extra week, but we had our run numbers in January were very high. Well, the way billing works is that what you bill, you're 4 to 6 weeks out on what you're turning around and getting.
yeah.
So March, we had a little lower run volume, and we're seeing that in April. Now, next month, we're probably going to see a lower month too, because we're billing, next month, we'll be getting what we did in April. It's part of it. The run severity that we have had, or acuity, was, January, February, March, we had very high acuity runs. And we're still having runs, but if they're not, if they don't require an innovation or, certain medication administration, then they're going to bill at a lower rate. And that's just, earlier in the month, we had really, really, really sick patients. This last month, we've had patients, but they haven't necessarily been as sick. So they're going to bill them at a lower rate because the interventions were not, it takes like so many interventions to bump it up from an ALS 1 to an ALS 2, and then in the first few months, we did take several transfers out of the hospital. I don't know if because, Lex is coming in for them, that they're asking, they're needing us a little less because they've got this third party coming in, I'm not sure. They haven't been asking us as much for transfers, but when they have asked us, we have tried to accommodate that.
That's the main thing. Okay, anything else?
Got a call last week from Knox County, the one that used to run the ambulance service here.
Yeah.
They're opening the doors, and they're starting a new ambulance service out at, Vincent's, Sullivan, where they're out of. And they're going with ABS, the same building company we are here, they will know about it. So
deposit from Malcon soon as well, so. ABS does not take from that. The check will be sent to ABS, but like right now, whatever we bill, they take a percentage of. This, what I talked to you last month about the Medicaid or Medicare, like reimbursement, because they do, to see kind of how much shortfall they were in giving it, paying us. We should be getting that deposit. ABS does not take any percentage from that, so we should be getting that soon.
I thought I had in my head that they took a percentage of that.
They do not.
But it
I
just
talked to
has to
Heather.
go, it has to go through our contract.
But they will put on the, they'll send, like, every Friday I get my deposits and it's broke down, which is what I put on the spreadsheet for you guys. But she said at the very bottom, they will put this much of this deposit was for this, and they keep it separate so that nothing comes out of that. And I believe it's like $22,000 we'll be getting from that, so.
So we still run a mutual aid if we go to transfers, if we have to.
I'm sorry,
Will we still be going to using mutual aid if we go to transfers and one of the trucks has to go to Indianapolis and makes a short end, and then we get 2 calls come in?
We will continue to use.
Surrounding counties?
yeah, we will do that, but, like, what's happened, so yesterday we got kind of busy. What happened was we had one person come in, grab an ambulance, they headed to the scene, and he met them there in his vehicle. So, we're trying to cut down on how much we need to ask for mutual aid, because I feel like we're able to manage it pretty well. But as far as us doing mutual aid for other people, we're not doing it if we don't have, like, we're not gonna make ourselves short to cover the county, to cover someone else's county, so.
Are we gonna ask other counties to cover for us and we're not gonna help them?
But we still
We
help them
still are
if we're
helping
available.
them,
We just don't cut our.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, we still help them, yes.
But we are working good with surrounding counties.
yes.
Okay.
That includes Scott County?
We are doing standbys.
We don't want to forecast, but they don't call us as much as they used to.
And they appreciated it.
Move on.
I'm sure they do.
Move on.
That's what I was gonna say, let's just move on to a different topic.
Are we going to do transfers to Indy?
So what I talked to Donna about was that I was wanting to stay kind of in a 50-mile radius as far as our trucks going out. Because if you work a 24-hour shift, you're up all night, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's a transfer to Indy, and there's a stable patient. My thing is when Seals ends up leaving, that they're not gonna have, you know, when we take over transfers, then they're not gonna have anyone to go to Indy. And sometimes with the weather, they can't fly all the time. So I talked to them about that, because I know patients are going to Indy sometimes. They said that they would be fine waiting for us to get a fresh crew in to come do that transfer. And whether that's maybe one of us going with a crew, if it's ALS, or if it's BLS having a crew come in to just take the transfer, they were fine with that. They've been waiting like 12 to 16 hours for a truck to show up to go to Floyd. So for them to wait 4 hours or 5 hours for a truck to go to Indy, they were fine with that.
Probably 95% of what goes into is BLS anyway.
And you can have both, you can have 2 basics.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying,
My game plan for that is I'd like to not go to Indy at all, but I have to be realistic about that as well. I know that patients are going to need to go. But I also, my first priority is the crews being safe, and the worst phone call the first phone call I never want to get is that one of them wrecked because they fell asleep driving back from Indy at 4 o'clock in the morning. So whether that's me coming in early to take a transfer after I've had some sleep, or whatever the case is, if I can get a truck to come in just for that transfer, that's my game plan. Now, if it's something in the earlier part of the day, like say they call for us at 10 o'clock in the morning to go to Indy, I mean, one of the crews can take that. But if it's in a time where I feel like it's not safe in the middle of the night, they are fine with waiting until like 7 o'clock in the morning.
I think the last time we looked into that, I think we had like 4 or 5 transfers in that year.
It wasn't very much.
It's not.
When COVID was going,
That was a few years ago, that could be a different story today.
when COVID was really heavy and they were having a hard time getting trucks to go, I mean, they were having a hard time getting beds, obviously the Indy run volume picked up because that's just the name of the game. They just needed their bed, and so they were just looking for anyone to accept it. But whenever it's more like a normal period of time, like right now, most of those transfers are going to Floyd, Schnack, and Clark. And
That's one thing about their administration they have over here now, which is always a problem with me, is we're taking our county residents, and family has to now travel 2.5 hours to go to Indy because they want to fill their mothership up. The man that they have over there now understand that Rick doesn't want to drive all the way to Indy, to go see his brother or his wife or his mom or whoever. He'd much rather drive 30 miles to Floyd to see his mother for being treated. Now, they understand that more than their last management did. And that was a lot of what was going on then, was they didn't care. They wanted to fill the mothership up, where these people kind of, they're more community oriented and think about families. And we brought that up to them many times over the years, and they understand that. There's times that, like she said, because of COVID, they have to send people up there, just because it's only available beds. But they're a lot better over here with their management team than what it was. Or at least they seem to be on the face side at least.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Amy did call me last night, and I told her I would be at the meeting, and I'm sorry I ran late, I lost track.